Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen to YouTube NM Enterprise 7. We are again in the YouTube comment section of the channel, and we're going to go down the list. These are three that I've taken a look at, and we're going to address each one. The first one is from Lisa Christensen. She says, "Thank you for your videos, Nicole. I'm all alone now. I'm pregnant. The father wants nothing to do with me. I had to cast my mother out of the house because I had to realize through the help of your videos, actually. So thank you, Jesus, that he put you in my life." This is a woman who realized that her mother was a covert narcissist, okay? She also experienced emotional abuse being with this mother, and she also experienced other traumas. Her comment is very, very long, okay? So we're not going to go through every single line of the text that she supplies, but what I am going to do is say that a person who has experienced so much loss as this woman has, once again, this is the reminder that God is all you really have. At the end of the day, she lost her husband, she lost a friend, she had a friend who cheated with her husband. She had just so much loss. And when we experience these times in our lives where there's loss, you have to also focus in on the gains. I know for some people it's like, well, I experienced so much loss. I mean, it's hard to look at the positive through all of this. But see, God, he puts these challenges before us, and the types of challenges that he puts before us are set up not for us to fail, but for us to be successes. So many people will take tragedy, loss, negativity, and they will turn all of those things around for good. They will look at the positives. They'll say, I'm able to do things that I've never been able to do since the loss of. I'm able to grow and connect with different people since this major change has taken place. Or so people tend to take negativity and turn it around into positivity. But you also have those that they want you to stay in the negative. They want you to take a situation of challenge and trial and upset and confusion, and they want you to stay there because they revel in the downfall of people who are on their way back up again, or people who are typically up. You see, we've got some jealous people. We've got a demonic spirit or spirits in and around people who they revel in the fact that you're down and out. They revel in the fact that you've experienced loss. They think that you're not going to swing back around. They're hoping to put you in some type of crazy ward, okay? So the key is that despite everything that you've gone through, you've got to be able to look at the gains that God has given you. Now you have time to think. Some people, they just need some time to think, right? They got family members and friends and jobs and, children and the rest that consume their time, consume their energy. So some people, they go through things, and then when all of the drama and the trauma and the family issues and you name it pass, now they got time to think. I can finally sit back and think about what I want to do. I can finally take the time out to focus in on my child, for instance, or I can finally read a book. I can finally go to school. A lot of this stuff that is taken away, oftentimes it's a distraction for what it is that God is trying to do for you. We say these prayers sometimes and forget what we prayed. God said, well, this is what I want for you, but this person is a distraction. So I'm going to create a separation. I'm going to create a distance. I'm going to create the space that you need so that you can be the individual that I've called you to be. And some people miss that. They're too busy looking at the past. They're too busy grieving the loss. They're too busy troubled in their mind, in their body, in their spirit. I mean, if God is giving you the opportunity to finally catch your breath, to finally do the things you always wanted to do without the permission, without the approval, without the criticism of someone else, why not walk in that positivity? Why not walk in that light? You see? So there is so much that has happened in this woman's life, but without going line by line and exposing all her personal business to the world, what I am going to say though is that the biggest issue or challenge personally or possibly professionally that she's going to have to overcome is focusing on the losses. No more focusing on the losses, but focus on the gains. This is a woman who's pregnant. That's a gain. That's a win, because that is a life that's coming into this world. The loss was that she no longer has a husband. She ended up having to bury some people over the years and all that. But the gain is that now the door is open for her to meet new people, build a new network. She could even help people who have experienced similar losses, if that's what she, truly wants to do, and God has called her to do that sort of thing. So oftentimes we have people who experience so much loss who turn around and become teachers and leaders and educators, and basically God uses them to set the captives free, right? So many of you tune into audios and videos, and you've heard my highs and lows, and in all of the highs and lows, you are able to conquer, the demons that are in your life. You're able to overcome. You're able to, see the grass greener where God is, as opposed to where man or woman is, you see. So that is my thoughts on your comments, Miss Lisa, that you left. The next comment I want to zero in on is, or question is, would you please do a video about stingy narcissistic parents flying higher? Z007 says. Thank you once again for this video. I'm learning so much, and thank you as always for tuning in. Stingy narcissistic parents, we're going to break it down, okay? First up, stingy. Stingy means unwilling to give or spend, ungenerous, okay? Let's say that again. Stingy means unwilling to give or spend, ungenerous. Other words for stingy: mean, miserly, parsimonious. I won't even say that word. It's too close to another negative word. Close-fisted, penny pinching, and some of you all know the rest, right? Tight-fisted. We got some people that's in our families, as well as friends, and even people that are at various workplaces who are just simply put stingy people. I remember an individual told me that he hates spending money. Okay. Another person told me that she looks to save as much money as possible. And it was almost like an obsession too, because she was willing to do quite a few things just to keep from spending money. Okay, so we've got these stingy people out here, but the viewer, though, listener, wanted me to talk about narcissistic parents. Okay, so when you throw stingy, the adjective stingy, in front of narcissistic, let's go to narcissistic. Narcissistic is having an excessive or erotic interest in oneself and one's physical appearance. So when you throw stingy and narcissistic together, here you have an ungenerous, right, individual who is consumed with oneself. Synonyms include conceited, narcissistic, self-loving, self-absorbed, self-obsessed, self-admiring, self-centered, egotistic, self-regarding. So this person is a selfish person, okay? Narcissistic personality disorder, if you look on the other side of the screen, this is a disorder with exaggerated levels of self-obsession. There's a sense of self-importance, a lack of empathy, arrogant behavior, excessive urge for admiration, strong sense of entitlement. You know a person has a personality disorder like narcissism when all of these character traits are part of their disorder, part of their personality, right? So you've got a stingy, once again, unwilling to give or spend, ungenerous person, right? Who is selfish, self-absorbed, okay, and exhibits these personality disorder traits. I am important. They don't have empathy for people who are in need. They have a prideful demeanor in the way that they talk, in the way that they walk, in the way that they express themselves, defend themselves. They need to feel admired. So they're looking for people to call. They're looking for people to come around. They're looking for attention. They have this strong sense of entitlement. I'm entitled to have, right? I am entitled to be treated this way because I am. And let's go back to what the YouTube commenter says. Parents, right? Parents. So you could have this individual who, once again, putting it all together, ungenerous, unwilling to give or spend, a narcissist, right? They're selfish. They're caught up in themselves. They don't have a warm, compassionate heart, right? They're prideful. They gotta be admired. They gotta be honored. All of this stuff. I feel entitled because I'm the parent. Okay, let's go to the definition of parent: a father or mother. Simply put, a father or mother. When you think of a parent of a young child, you think of that parent as a caregiver of the offspring in their own species. Okay, so there's that time where, yes, the parent is being the caregiver. But so many parents, they get to a place in their lives where they see their children are flourishing, and then they say, well, I don't have to be a caregiver anymore. You don't have to physically go over there, wipe their faces, right, and brush your child's teeth and put their clothes on and all that other stuff, unless, of course, they have a disability and they're older or they can't seem to do for themselves. But there are those times where we can be the caregiver in the sense of dispensing wisdom, a caregiver by helping them get ahead. You know they're living paycheck to paycheck. You know that they've got children. You know that they have experienced a loss of a job, or somebody's a widow or a widower. But yet, let's go back, right, to the comment. Can you please do a video, right, on these stingy narcissistic parents? But yet, they're ungenerous. They know that there is the opportunity to step it up as a parent. They know that it could make their efforts to help could make their children's lives easier, whether they're adult sons and daughters or younger. But there is this unwillingness to give. There's this unwillingness to spend. And then for some of these people, they look for reasons as to why I should give. There shouldn't be reasons. Let me tell you right now, if you're a child of God, we already know. We walk with the Lord for quite some time. You don't need a reason to give. When God tells you to give, you just give. Most believers that are urged to give, a lot of times that person who you give to, they're not giving you anything in return. Okay? So that very one that you gave the food to, you gave the clothing to, and all of that, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get anything back from that person. So why even expect it? But stingy people, what you going to do for me? I did A, B, and C for you. So all I'm asking you to do, let's say the narcissistic parent who's self-absorbed, self-centered, feels entitled and all of that, says, well, I expect you to call me, to come around. I expect you to help me with household items. I expect for you to be there whenever I call you. You see, it's all about you're to call, you're to come around. You are to behave in the way that I want you to behave. So if you brag about me being the great parent, the wonderful parent, then I might not be so stingy, right? I might give you something. You got these sorts of parents that are out here, whether alive or deceased. And so there are those who have watched these stingy narcissistic parents, and unfortunately they end up being that way as well. So it may be this sibling over here who's a cheapskate, okay, who is real tight-fisted with their money, whereas the other sibling looks and says, you know what, I don't want to be that way, and so they end up trying to make up for all that they've experienced that was negative with parents by being extremely generous. So you get some people who are on one end of the spectrum where they're ungenerous because they saw mom and dad being ungenerous, and then you got another one who's on the other side of the spectrum that is trying to make up for all the times that he or she was rejected by parents when they were in need. And so they just give and give and give some more. The key is to have a healthy balance. But stingy narcissistic parents don't have that, okay? They do not have that. Why? Because they are caught up in this personality disorder, okay? Once again, what makes them narcissistic is they have this excessive or erotic interest in themselves. So it's how we look, it's where we go, it's what we do for each other, and forget everybody else. And some of them, once they do finally decide that they want to give, they start to think deeply about what they've done. Oh, I just gave this. I don't think I really wanted to give them that much. Oh, I hope that he or she will come back around because, I need to feel comfortable about what I did, about what I gave, and I don't feel good about it. You see, stingy narcissistic parents really don't feel good about the things that they give to their children or stepchildren or grandchildren after a while. Initially, they may feel okay and all right if there's people watching, if there's people encouraging them, if there's people saying, that was so nice what you did, right? But some, though, will walk away from all of that and be like, I wish I never did because I needed my money. And meanwhile, they could have a whole lot of money, but it's just the idea that they gave, and that bothers them deeply. Okay, I know this sounds crazy to some people who are very generous. They're like, what kind of people are these folks? I mean, these are children that you're talking about, sons and daughters, simply wanting their parents to provide, to give. And the excuse for some of these stingy narcissistic parents is, I already gave, and I don't need to give them anything else. I was already there for them for 20, 30, 40 plus years. I don't need to give them one more thing, you see. But once again, if you are a child of God, you don't take on those type of attitudes about giving. You ask the Lord, even if you are troubled about these sorts of things, you go to the one true God and you talk to him about this. Because see, the demonic plays with people in this sort of way, telling them things like, oh, you're still good, you're still all right with the Lord. Jesus was a giving human being walking this planet before he ascended unto heaven, right? And even when he ascended unto heaven, he left behind the Holy Spirit. So he was still giving. But you got to question where you are with the one true God, and are you really one of his called and chosen? Because this should be something that in time, I know it doesn't happen right away, but in time you should be okay and all right with when it comes to giving, okay? So the stingy, unwilling to give, ungenerous, narcissistic, self-absorbed, okay, individual who calls his or herself a parent, but yet when children come around, you always got an excuse as to why you can't give or what have you. We're not talking about the parents, though, who already have the long track record of giving. We're not talking about the parents who have been there through the trials and storms that their children went through. We're not talking about them. So anybody who gets offended by this message, You shouldn't be, because if you are giving to your children and you are proactive, you're giving a listening ear, maybe not money, but a listening ear. You're giving time, you're giving energy, you are proactive in the sense that you are in their lives, then you shouldn't be offended by this message. But those who are going to be offended by this message are the very ones that the person who commented on my channel, those people will be offended, the stingy, okay? Because this ungenerosity and thinking that you're still going to go to heaven, really? Ungenerous type of behaviors. And see, some people will say, well, it's just, not wanting to give. Really? I mean, that's going to keep me out of heaven. No, there's some things that's tied to the stinginess that keeps people from going to heaven. Oftentimes, stingy people lie. They cover up. They exaggerate. They got secrets. Okay? Why would they do that? Because they're trying to protect their assets. They're trying to protect their money. They don't feel like doing things. So they don't want to be called out on being stingy. They don't want to be busted for not giving when they should have. They just don't want to be exposed, you see. The narcissistic person, whether parent or not, the narcissistic person who's caught up in his or her selfish ways, self-admiring, self-centered, and all of that, this is a person who, when children are involved, they weren't happy from the start if they had this personality. They weren't happy from the start when children were born. So the functional, healthy parent looks at children as a blessing, right? Talks positively about the children from the start. Some of you all got to dust your brains off a bit and think back. Was that person happy about bringing life into this world? Were they content with being pregnant? Were they just ecstatic about being a mother or father? Narcissists are not happy about bringing children into the world. And if you thought that they suddenly was going to be okay and all right as the child grew older, we got a long history even in our family where no, they weren't happy about all of what being a mother, being a father entailed. Okay? Because there's a lot of what? Come on, somebody put it together. There's a lot of generosity, giving that takes place in being a parent. And if a person was stingy and had no desire of changing prior to being a father or mother, what made you think that they were going to be generous as the children got older? Okay? I've had family members talk about other family members and said, those are some stingy people. I've heard relatives say, oh, those folks, they are so selfish. They're all about themselves and conceited. They love bragging about all of what they got. Yeah, what they got. But over time, whatever little crumbs or a little bit that they gave to children, they may boast for a while about it, and then after a while, if the child is not good narcissistic supply, right, doing for the parent, being there for the parent and all of that, they're not going to boast about all of what they did. If anything, they're going to boast about all of what they didn't do. Okay, that's what stingy people like to do. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't spend that money. I'm so glad I saved that money. I'm so glad I didn't get this and didn't do this for him or her. Girl, and they get on the phone or they get in their little circles and they talk about how they didn't do. And they like to team up with other people who are stingy, who are miserly, who are tight-fisted. And they all think that it's all cool and fun until one day they need. Okay, if you are stingy, and let's just talk about some things, because once again, we got stingy people who listen to these audios and they always think somebody's talking about money or talking about them or whatever. Look, at the end of the day, stingy comes in many forms. People can be ungenerous with their time. I don't have time for you. People can be ungenerous with flattering statements and encouraging other people. Well, I gotta say nice things. I don't want to say nice things. People can be ungenerous about just giving knowledge and wisdom. I don't need to talk to them young people. They don't need to talk to me. You see, so this stinginess isn't just about the money. It's about a lot of things that these people are unwilling to give. God says give. They say no. And then they'll make excuses, and they will fight up against God for days, for weeks, for months, for years, to the point where they end up losing so much. So that brings us to the Bible. We got plenty of scriptures that refer to stingy. So in case somebody says, where's stingy in the Bible? I don't know, blah, 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 blah. Look, we don't have to go there. We can just read it together. Proverbs 28:22. Okay. The stingy are what? Eager to get rich. Let's stop right there. The stingy are eager to get rich. Okay. So they spend many years, okay, many hours contemplating on how to get rich, how to make more money, how to invest more, how to just get more for me, right? So they're very eager to get rich. Now here's the and are unaware, right? They don't know, they don't have a clue, and are unaware that what? Poverty awaits them. It's not just about money, because I could hear somebody saying something now like, oh, well, so-and-so going to die a rich man. No, but he's impoverished or she's impoverished emotionally. They're impoverished when it comes to friendship. They're impoverished when it comes to the gifts that God so generously gives. Okay? So these are people who when they die, they don't die with much. Mentally, physically, spiritually, or mentally, or, physically, or, it could be all of the above, right? It could be one here and one there, or it could be all of the above. That's my point. So there is poverty with these people, and it's unfortunate, but that's what happens. Greedy people, in the New Living Translation, it says greedy people try to get rich quick, but don't realize they're headed for poverty. And what are some ways that you can get rich quick, right? Some people play the lottery. Other people, they invest in real estate. Other people, they find something that is profitable and they sell it. They get that money quick, and then the next thing you know, something happens to take their money away. Okay? I hate to say it, but a lot of stingy rich people are losing their minds. And so while they're protecting their assets and they're saying who's not going to get what or what have you, there's always the government. There's always some folks that you really didn't want to have your assets, your wealth, who end up with them. I've said this before and I say it again, because God will not be mocked. The people of God will not be mocked. Walking around here being the narcissist, self-absorbed, being stingy, all of this, once again, these people don't get away with anything. Proverbs 23:6. Now this is something that will confirm a lot for some people who have been praying about, should I go to the family function, to the family holiday event, to the family anything. Proverbs 23:6, do not eat the food of a begrudging host. Let's stop right there. These begrudging hosts, these are the ones who are complaining. These are the ones that have a grudge against you. These are the ones that are the stingy and the narcissistic, you name it. They, although they will put on airs as if they're okay and all right with people, they'll act as if they're so kind and so sweet. Well, yeah, when it's a major tragedy or a really, really happy event where everybody's getting something or what have you, yeah, they know how to put on airs. They know how to fake. They know how to act as if they're so sweet and so nice. I mean, they just went through some things, right? Okay, so now here comes the food. Here comes that family holiday event. And you got this begrudging host who's putting on a fake smile. and you know that this person got issue with you or issue with your family members or just issue with people in general, here's what the Bible says: do not crave his delicacies. Okay? We are not to be craving these stingy men or stingy women's delicacies. Don't eat with people who are stingy. We're not even supposed to be sitting down with these people, but yet people will get on trains, planes, trolleys, you name it, to sit around people who they call their family, who they call their friends, who are stingy people. You know, it sounds like a funny word and people will joke and laugh about it, but it is not funny when you have been the victim of a stingy person. When you called out to the Lord and you knew that person had the wealth to help you and they didn't. Okay? Lord Jesus, come on now. Somebody, it's not anything cute or nice or, oh Jesus. And so you may be that child. You may be that son or daughter who just wanted so much for the narcissistic, stingy parent to just turn his or her heart toward the one true God, confess sin, repent, and write a check. Okay? Or show up and be present in the moment and give you some time, listen to you, be generous with listening to you, right? And they didn't want to do that. So what are you going to do? You can't keep beating that parent over the head. You can't keep talking about I wish you would. Instead, you got to move on. Don't desire that good cooking of so and so. Don't do that. Don't go after this one and that one hoping that they cook like this one and that favorite and whoever else in the family. And then meanwhile, the story is that these people were stingy. Come on. We don't do that. Because here's why you don't want to do stuff like this, getting caught up with the stingy people. Because I know from personal experience, you're going to end up getting your feelings hurt. And God don't want you to get your feelings hurt. He really don't. You're going to get your feelings hurt. You're going to be repeatedly disappointed. You're going to be chasing after the wind. You're going to be hoping and wishing for something that never comes. And the demonic will put your family members and your friends to dangle a carrot over your head. And you're always like the rabbit reaching for that carrot and they keep pulling it up further and further away. Now we got issues of power and control. And we don't subscribe to that sort of thing. Our God is powerful. Our God is mighty. Our God is just. Man is not. Man likes to play mind games. Man likes to power trip. Man is what? Egotistical. He's an egoist. That's what the narcissist is. When people play those kind of games with you, you got to see them. How do you see them? Number one is you see them when they make promises. Make promises that they're going to give you and do for you and all of that. And then the fine print is that they really want you to do for them and they don't really have intentions of paying you what you're worth or giving you what you deserve or anything like that. But they string you along by continuing to make promises that they're going to do for you. But then they realize, oh, it's going to hurt me to give. It's going to, once again, stingy people hate to give. Right? So once they start to contemplate that, they start to backpedal on all of what they originally told you they were going to give. You see, these people got, once again, a disorder, a personality disorder. We can't make this stuff up. This is for real. And this is why some individuals push so many people away. Your narcissistic parents, 9 times out of 10, don't have any friends. 9 times out of 10, they have had fallen outs with people and been accused of being miserly, stingy, close-fisted, penny pinching, but not when it comes to buying for them, right? Going back to the narcissism. And yet they call themselves your mother, your father, okay? But some folks can't tell because we got some kids who's walking around with holes in their shoes. We got some kids who they haven't had new stuff in quite a long time. Okay. We've got some adult sons and daughters who have gone through many fires, and the parents could have given them a boost to help them in their businesses, help them prosper, help them get out of debt. And the parents said, I'm in debt and I'm not helping you. You see? So that lack of empathy shows up when a person's in need. And you got to watch for that. And once again, you don't want to get hurt. So once you recognize that a person is a narcissist, you don't tell them all of what you need. You don't do that. You learn early, because they will hurt your feelings, because they're too busy looking at themselves in the mirror. They're too busy looking at their bank account. They're too busy looking at their investments, their portfolios. They're too busy looking at everything dealing with them, that they can't see anybody else. And then to really see would be for them to be vulnerable, for them to be compassionate. And to be quite honest, a person with a serious personality disorder like narcissism, that's the last thing that they're going to have, is that type of understanding, empathy, what have you. And then they don't mind letting that arrogant behavior show up. Well, you should have done this, and you should have done that, and you should have made better investments, and you're so poor. And if you would have been nicer to some people, then maybe you would have gotten this. And if you would have been kinder, maybe I would have thought about giving you. And it's always some prerequisite. You've got to perform. You know, they've got to show off. Look at what I got. But they don't have any intention of buying you or helping you. So for some of us, we say, why do you even open up your mouth and tell anybody what you have then? Because it makes them feel good. That's why. It's not meant to make you feel good that they got the Lexus, or they got the BMW, or they got the Tesla, or any other vehicle, right? And most people, I mean, yeah, you'll be happy for a relative or what have you, but there's just this negative air about them, and you just don't feel happy for them because you know what they're doing. But pride comes before a fall. I got to remind somebody of that. Pride comes before a fall, and these arrogant, wicked individuals are going to see poverty once again in a way that is going to blow their minds and blow the people around them their minds as well. Like, what? All this time I thought he was this and he was that and she was this and that. And you find out a whole lot, especially when they pass away. Deuteronomy 15:9 says, be careful. Here we go. Be careful not to harbor this wicked thought. Listen to this, because this is deep. Even though it doesn't necessarily fit with modern times in the way that it's worded, but just listen. It says the 7th year, the year for canceling debts, because there was a time where this sort of thing happened many centuries ago. But the 7th year, the year for canceling debts, is near, so that you do not show ill will toward the needy among your fellow Israelites and give them nothing. See, there was this pride that would creep up, and there was this stinginess that would creep up, and these people did not want to give a break on debts. They didn't want to say, okay, you know what? Let's have mercy on these people who are poor, broke, busted, and disgusted, and cancel their debts. So as it would get close to the 7th year, it's like, nope, we got to try to get our money. We got to try to get our money. So, you know, God was not pleased with this sort of thing. And you got people who do this sort of thing today, maybe not phrased in this way, but they do it. They know that it's getting close to a specific deadline where they could do the right thing, but they choose not to. They know that they're going to get a check, a very good check in the mail, and rather than do the right thing with that check, they are going to take it and stockpile it. They know that they're supposed to help someone because they made a promise, possibly, right? Or somebody bragged about how nice the stingy person is because they don't really know that person. And so then they feel like, okay, I guess I got to walk in this character that these other people put before me. And then they decide to renege, or nope, I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to help them, or I change my mind, right? So they may then appeal to the Lord against you, and you will be found guilty of sin. So this is sinful behavior at the end of the day. Okay, New Living Translation, love this one. It says, do not be mean-spirited and refuse someone alone, because the year for canceling debts is close at hand. If you refuse to make the loan and the needy person cries out to the Lord, you will be considered guilty of sin. Okay, And this sort of thing, I know for a fact, when you cry out to the Lord will deal. He will deal with those who play these little games. I'm a witness. He does. So I know this was a lengthy audio slash video, but you know, we gotta address some of these serious comments. And this particular one is about a segment on adult daughters and mothers issues. I got into some mother related issues and Tell Me Mother You're Sorry. I also got into motherhood challenges and When Mothers Cry. So I suggest that people grab those books if you want to go deep when it comes to motherhood related issues and daughters and mothers and sons and mothers, because these are issues that people are plagued by because our society still esteems mothers and fathers, still says that you should do this and you should do that concerning mothers and fathers. But like this woman says here, she says, my mother was mean to me. So let's just stop right there. Her mother was mean to her. All right. So when you got these issues going on with a parent, you got to make a decision and make it fast, because number one, you don't want to be influenced negatively and pass those issues on to your children. Two is that you don't want to end up dishonoring mother over and over again because you can't stand certain things that she's saying, that she's doing, and you might, you know, want to jump up in her face one day. So that's why distance is crucial. Sometimes it's not about what the mother's going to do to the daughter or the son, but sometimes it's about what the son or the daughter could potentially do to the mother. So the distance is key, and forget what people say about, oh, well, you should come around, you should call, you should do this, that, and the other. Look, there's some real issues that's going on. There's some things that a mother triggers in a son or a daughter. We don't encourage people to be getting together and having a kumbaya when you know that you're not dealing with a kumbaya type of person, right? Some of these people who are mean are fighters, okay? Some of these people who are mean are bitter. They're angry. They look to retaliate, okay? So when you got mothers and daughters at war with one another, you may be able to sit them down at the table for a while, but how long are they going to sit at that table before somebody's jumping up and ready to choke somebody, okay? Then you get some of the dignified mothers and daughters and sons, what have you, that they can be able to iron out some issues, but then they got some functional, healthy relationships from the start, so that works out. But when you got some dysfunction going on top of the narcissistic type of personality disorder, right? Going back to that, and she or he has this strong sense of entitlement. I feel entitled because I'm your mother, I'm your father. It's going to be war. It's going to be drama, okay? And we don't want that. But so often it happens because people don't understand the dynamic of the relationship, and they assume that it's functional and healthy when it really isn't. Another thing I wanted to bring up is how I thought this was interesting. This is a little bit off topic, but I wanted to read this. In the New Living Translation Bible, it says, the most tender and delicate woman among you, so delicate she would not so much as touch the ground with her foot. Listen to this. Will be selfish toward the husband she loves and toward her own son or daughter. Okay. Now, when you read the rest of this, you know, it's pretty graphic, but this was the curse of disobedience. So when you see that mother or that father changing, I remember somebody said, oh, so-and-so is changing up on me, or they're changing. Remember now, there's some disobedience usually that's going on, that the reason why the negativity is taking place to begin with. And we're not talking about, you know, sons and daughters being disobedient to parents and parents being disrespectful or provoking children to wrath. We're just talking about disobedience in general when it comes to the one true God. If I'm all right with the Lord and I'm doing what I'm supposed to, I I'm not concerned about curses. I mean, people have cursed me to my face, behind my back, over the internet, off the internet. I'm not concerned about curses. When I know that I'm delivering the truth, when I'm doing right according to the will of the Lord, I'm not concerned about somebody's curse against me, what somebody wishes that the Lord would do to me, or, all of that. But you got some mothers and fathers who will curse their very sons and daughters. Okay, and they'll do it by withholding affection, withholding money, isolation, gaslighting, putting flying monkeys up to saying any and every little thing, to draw the who they consider to be the rebellious or the mean-spirited or the black sheep or whatever they want to call their son or daughter back to them, only for them to beat them, whoop them, disrespect them, lie on them, snatch their money, guilt trip on them, just all sorts of things. And so it isn't any wonder why the relationships over time between sons and daughters, or between mothers and fathers, or mothers and sons, fathers and daughters, begins to crumble. Okay, there's just so much negativity that is coming in, and it's because somebody was disobedient. God was moving on somebody to be generous. God was moving on somebody to show some love. God was moving on somebody to apologize. God was moving on somebody to stop cursing, whether out loud behind somebody's back, or taking scriptures and trying to put a curse out there on a relative because he or she didn't like something. I mean, come on. All of this stuff, all it does is end up causing friction in the household. And so this example was interesting. You've got this delicate woman who wouldn't even let her foot touch the ground, right? But she ends up being selfish toward the husband she loves and toward her own son or daughter. Okay? A lot of times there's these mothers and fathers that their fight isn't with the sons and daughters and extended relatives and family friends and all that. Their fight is with the one true God. Okay? And I'm going to leave it at that. I thank you all so much for reaching out to me. These comments have been just inspiring. I appreciate you very much, just for just showing your support. Continue to like, subscribe, comment. Blessings to you. And we're going to keep it coming, okay? Thank you as always.